Today I'm making jugs or pitchers on the wheel. I'll be throwing a cylinder, I'll show you how to form a spout, then I'll pull some handles. I'll trim my jugs and then I'll attach the pulled handles. I'm also going to show you how I remove my jugs from the wheel without using water. So let's get started. I've prepared a number of pieces of clay. They're about 1 kilo, give or take each, and I'll take you through the whole process, starting with centering. So while I'm centering, I've been thinking about why handles can be so difficult. So for one, there's the design consideration, that is making shape and the function that really suits the body of your jug. And then there's the technical aspect of taking a long, narrow, often thin handle and attaching it to a wheel-formed vessel. Anyway, let's get back to making the body of the jug. So I flatten the top of the clay and I push down to just a little more than the diameter of the base of the jug. And now I'm ready to push into the clay and open out. So I haven't left a lot of clay in the base because I'm not going to trim a foot on my jugs. So now I'm ready to pull up the walls. I remove any water that's sitting inside the base of my pot, and we're good to go. So if you're having trouble making tall cylinders and you find that they slump, check out my video on exactly that topic. Remember to compress the rim of your cylinder each time you get to the top. So my hands are working together. I'm pushing from the inside out, and then my knuckle is pushing the clay back in. Come up very slowly, and when you can, link your hands together. Remember to keep the walls slightly tapered inwards. This will help support your cylinder. I want my jug to have a smooth, natural exterior, so I'm just going to straighten and smooth the sides. I'm ready to trim around the base, and then I'm going to form the spout. I like to do this while the jug is still on the wheel. The clay really needs to be soft for this. I'm making quite a small spout for this jug. My approach is, well, minimalist. So now I wire through and set my pot aside. Okay, there was a lot going on there, so let's take a look at that last bit again. I trim around the base, and then I use 2 fingers to support the rim, and on my other hand, I use my index finger to gently stretch out the spout. And now I can wire through. So as I mentioned in the intro, I'm cutting my pot off the wheel dry. That is, I'm not using any water to drag under the pot. So once I've wired through, I need to dry off my hands. I can't stress the importance of this. They need to be dry. And then pick your jug up gently close to the base and with even pressure, and then just gently lift it off and put it on the waiting wearboard. So even pressure and clean dry hands are key to getting your pot off the wheel in this way. Now I let these dry to leather hard. So now I'm ready to make pulled handles. So I always do this before I trim the jugs. The reason being, the handles need a little time to firm up before being attached to the jug. So while I'm trimming, the handles have time to firm. So as you can see, I've made my clay into little carrot shapes. That is, they're a little narrower at one end. I hold the larger end in one hand, and then I wet my hands and just run my hands down the length of the clay. I'm actually stretching the clay. As I do this, I can turn the handle and I can modify my fingers, the amount I'm squeezing, to affect the profile of the handle. So let's look at that again. Once I'm happy with the length and profile of the handle, I smush it onto the top edge of a table or bench. This encourages the handle to start to firm up in the curve of a handle. Make sure you squish them down really well though. There's nothing quite like trimming your pots and coming back to find a bunch of handles lying on the floor. While you're pulling a handle, you really need to keep your hands wet. Otherwise you risk the clay just catching and breaking off. The movement must be smooth and continuous. Work out how to adjust your fingers to get the profile that you want. There's really quite a high level of frustration here, as it's easy to break the clay off if the pressure is uneven. But that's okay. Prepare a bunch of clay carrots and then make some extras. Keep at it. It might feel like an exercise in tolerating frustration, but it's well worth it. We can actually take this one step further by pulling handles on the jug, that is with the carrot of clay attached to the pot, and then stretching the clay out. This kind of pushes mastery a little further. I'll make a video on this down the track. But for now, let's leave these handles to firm up a bit and I'll trim my jugs. So I'm using a Giffen grip, but you can use lugs of clay to attach. A Giffen grip comes into its own when you're trimming tall cylinders. But I still use a little lug of clay to prop the spout up. So now I'm ready to trim the base. So as I mentioned earlier, no foot ring on this jug. I'm simply going to trim around the base, trim across the base, and then compress with my flexible rib. Great. Now I'm ready to attach the handles. So my handles have firmed up a little, and I've got some slip mixed up with my clay body and a little water. And now I'm just working out where my handles are going to go. So first of all, I'm going to mark out where the handles should go. I want the handle to be opposite the spout, and I also want to play around a little with the curve. So I've got the rough position and I just check that it is opposite. I mark it and I'm ready to scratch the area that the handle is going to attach to. From a design point of view, I want to make sure that I can fit all my fingers in the handle so that I can easily lift it when it's full. I also want the jug to feel balanced, so I'm putting the handle roughly in the middle. This is really the ergonomics of your jug. I've scored the end of the handle and then I'm ready to push the handle onto the jug. Okay, let's check that out again. Notice I'm using fingers on the inside of the jug to support the wall as I push the handle onto the body of the jug. And now's a good time to check the alignment before I really commit. And now I'm going to smooth the handle onto the body of the jug. Let's look at that again and notice how I'm using my thumb to smooth the handle onto the body of the jug. A thumb is the perfect shape for doing this. So now I work out how the handle is going to curve. It's going to be influenced by the angle I've attached the top part of the handle to the body, and I need to consider its profile and function. So by function, I want to be able to get my fingers in there when pouring. So we kind of work out the shape and size of the handle, and then I curve the handle into the shape and work out where I'm going to join the handle to the body at the bottom. So now's a great time to check and make sure that the handle is correctly aligned. I want it to be right angles to the body and opposite the spout. So we've got it aligned right. Now I can press the handle onto the body. So now I'll spend a little time making sure that the handle is properly joined to the body. So with the rest of the jugs, I'm going to play around a little with the shape of the handle and try for maybe a less rounded handle, maybe a bit of a flat handle. I'll be sure to dry these slowly, and as they dry I'll check that the handles are not cracking. It's winter here, so drying is slow anyway. So once they're dry, they go in the kiln for a bisque, and then I'm going to glaze just the inside. I've used a dark Temaki glaze for the inside of the jugs. I think it just offsets the beautiful rich colour of this mahogany mid-fire clay. I hope this video has been useful, and as always, thanks for watching.